Hey folks, Eric Bray, Focus Fishing Guide Service. Got another video fishing report for you for Table Rock. It is Tuesday, July 17th. Been on the water the last 7 days. I think I had 1 day over on Taneycomo and the rest of it's all been over here. They're biting. It's a little bit tougher, but it's kind of typical summertime pattern, but they are biting pretty good. As far as our lake level is concerned, we're right at 916, so we're exactly a foot low. We did get quite a bit of rain down here in the Branson area yesterday. They actually had flash flood warnings, so it might come up a little bit. They might run a little bit of additional water, but the normal pattern right now, they're running water starting usually around noon or 1 o'clock and running it till about 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening just to meet power needs. As far as our water temperature, it's warmed up, and we're 86, 87 down here by the dam. I was up the James last week and we were in the upper 80s, 88, 89. Have not been up the Kings, but I would bet that if you get up the Kings up around Sweetwater or maybe even a little bit above that, you'd see water in the mid 90s. So the water is definitely warmed up and we are definitely in a summer pattern, but we are catching fish. And catching quite a few fish every day. If you guys are coming down, say you're going to fish the lower end of the lake, it's where I am today. That's actually where I've had most of my trips this past week. The bite is a little bit tougher, but they are biting. The topwater bite is incredibly hit or miss. You do want to have a topwater ready. You do want to throw it a little bit first thing in the morning, but there's not a real defined area where they are. You just got to kind of look for busting shad, and you can catch a few on topwater. A lot of trips I'm not even messing with the topwater first thing in the morning just because it's just not happening. But you will have the occasional, if you get a cloudy day. The other day when it was cloudy and the rain kind of passed through, we did manage to catch a few on topwater. So do have a spook, a Sammy, a whopper plopper, Yozuri popper, whatever you want to throw, have that tied on. Best bite down here is definitely either on a drop shot rig with either a shad shaped worm, a cut tail worm, a UV drop shot worm. Most of those fish are coming out of trees at this point. We're catching them over those deeper trees. They're not really as shallow as as deep as you'd expect them to be. They're a lot shallower. Yesterday, most of the fish we caught were only about 15 to 18 feet down over top of deep trees. And it just really depends on where the shad are. But have a drop shot tied on. We are catching most of them on deeper trees, and most of those fish are coming out of creek arms. They're not really out on the main lake. They're back in those bigger creek arms like Beardsley, Brushy, Indian Point, that sort of area. Clevenger. Get on top of those trees and you'll see the fish. Yesterday, like I said, they were real shallow. A lot of them earlier in the week were a lot deeper. They were, 20 to 25 to 30 to 35 feet deep. So you just got to kind of look for them, but you're wanting those trees that top off around 25 or 30 feet deep. Those seem to be the better trees. Can catch a few out there on gravel runouts as well. Caught a few today on some gravel humps. But those fish are a lot more scattered. They don't seem to be as grouped up. You gotta move a lot. You can't just sit in one spot. You've got to cover a lot of water with your boat and with your trolling motor to find those fish. But when you find them, they will bite. So definitely look for those fish to be on gravel. The other bite that's working real well down here is the combination of the two spoons. The Jewel Scuba spoon is working really well, especially on those fish on gravel. It seems like those fish that you see on those gravel points and on those gravel runouts, those fish really tend to chase a spoon a lot more than they will a drop shot. They seem to be a little bit more aggressive, or they're a little bit more reactionary. They will react to that spoon when you drop it down there and pop it a couple of times, or have that Dixie Jet spoon tied on. I've been throwing the 3/4 ounce white one quite a bit. Been doing really well with a 3/4 ounce white Dixie Jet spoon, throwing it wherever I see shad busting, and caught quite a few fish doing that. That's a really good way to put some fish in the boat, and it doesn't matter what time of day. I mean, we catch them a lot more in the morning, but these fish will come up and chase shad later in the day, so have that Dixie Jet laying on your deck ready to throw. You can throw it a lot further and work it a lot faster than you can a topwater right now. Go up into the Kimberling City area. Same bites are working up there, but you can add a football jig to that bite. Definitely want to have a topwater tied on. Again, it's not a great topwater bite, but every day is a little bit different. If you see fish busting, you've got to have a topwater laying on your front deck. You can put some fish in the boat on the topwater right now in the Kimberling City area. Spook, Sammy, whopper plopper, Yozuri popper, whatever you want to throw, those baits are working. Drop shot is definitely working. Seems like those fish out there are more on gravel humps than they are in the trees. We're catching them in both, but I would say the majority of fish I'm catching up that way are more on gravel humps and long gravel points, anywhere from about 20 to about 35 feet deep, and they're right on the bottom. or they're in those trees in the bigger creek arms like Mill Creek, White's Branch, Kennel Branch, some of those bigger, longer creek arms that have got more standing timber in it. Those fish are suspended over top of those trees in, we'll say 20 to 35, but we have caught them a little bit shallower and a little bit deeper, so it's just a matter of kind of hunting and pecking and finding them. Spoon bites working up there too. Again, the Jewel Scuba Spoon for those fish you're fishing for vertically. Seems like those fish on those gravel humps will chase that spoon a little bit more than they do a drop shot rig. So definitely have a scuba spoon tied on and have your Dixie Jet tied on as well. Any fish that comes up busting throughout the day, throw that Dixie Jet just past them and rip it and kill it right where that fish was just busting. You'd be surprised how many fish you can catch on a spoon, even in the middle of the day. I just leave it laying on my front deck all day long, and I throw it whenever I see fish busting this time of year. And then the football jig. Football jig is really starting to work down here, catching a lot of fish on a Jewel, either 1/2 ounce or 5/8 ounce football jig matched up with a J-tail, Okeechobee blue, green pumpkin candy, brown purple flash, all your typical crawdaddy looking colors. Working that out from keeping the boat in about 30 to maybe even 35, and working those long gravel points and those gravel humps that come up to about 18 to 20, 25. That really seems to be where the fish are, and we're catching a lot more smallmouth doing that than we have been in the last couple of weeks. So definitely have a football jig tied on. Go up into the James. James is strong. I mean, we're catching fish up the James. A lot of different bites going on up the James that are happening throughout the rest of the lake. I mean, you can definitely catch them on a topwater when they're busting. So have a topwater laid on, spook, Sammy, popper, whopper, plopper, Yozuri popper, whatever you want to throw. Have a topwater tied on. See fish busting, make sure you're throwing at them. Then the drop shot's working from about 0.12 down. Seems like the bite's better down lake on the drop shot than it is up lake. Again, shad shaped worm, cut tail worm, UV drop shot worm on those gravel points, in some of those treetops. It seems like up the James, the trees just inside the mouths of the creeks, like Jackson Hollow is a good example. It's got some trees that are line those banks in about 50 foot of water. It seems like there's fish just inside the creeks when you get up the James. They're not really all the way back or even halfway back. They seem to be right on the inside of those creeks on a drop shot rib. So make sure you have that tied on. Spoon bite, doing well up there as well. Catching a lot of fish on the scuba spoon, out on those gravel humps and flats, just popping it off the bottom when I see a fish. Those fish, again, seem to be a lot more reactionary. They seem to be better Kentuckys too. We've been catching some pretty fat Kentuckys up that way. So make sure you have a scuba spoon tied on. The Dixie Jet's working as well, just like it is all over the lake. Throw it out there when you see busting fish, rip it through, kill it, rip it and kill it. You'll get a lot of bites doing that. And then a football jig's working up there great. Catching a lot of fish all over the lake on a football jig. It almost feels like we're in an early fall pattern, even though it's hot out. Almost feels like September. The water's as warm as it usually gets in September, so it kind of feels like we've got a September pattern going on. And I really feel like that football jig is going to be a bigger and bigger player for the next 2 to 3 to 4 weeks, all the way through September and into October with this warm water. But the 1/2 ounce, 5/8 ounce Jewel football jig, Okeechobee blue, green pumpkin candy, best colors I've got right now. Catching a few on peanut butter jelly and a few on brown purple flash. Matching them up with either J-tail or matching it up with a baby brush hog. Either one of those are working as a good trailer up there. Been catching a few more better fish with the baby brush hog as a trailer and green pumpkin, but not getting as many bites. So make sure you've got a football jig tied on, and that bite's working all the way up to James, all the way up to Flat Creek and above. Anywhere you've got those fish that are on those long gravel runouts or on those gravel humps, seem to be able to catch them on a football jig. And then the big worm bite is still working up there. Was up there last week one day, caught a few in a football jig, had a guy wanting to throw a big worm, so we threw a big worm into some brush piles. Again, you're not going to get a ton of bites, but the bites you get are going to be better quality. So have a big worm tied on, 10-inch UV monster or an old monster or a power worm, whatever your favorite big worm is. I've been using a 5/16 split sinker or slip sinker with a 5/0 hook on it, and basically just throwing it over the brush pile, working it over every limb, let it fall back to the bottom. I can't tell you how crucial that is once you pull it over a limb, let it fall back down, because a lot of those fish are hanging right on the bottom underneath those brush piles. 12 to 18 feet deep seems to be the best depth for your brush pile. And pay attention when you get a bite set the hook and get them turned the right way. You got to use 20-25 pound tests to get those fish out of some of those brush piles because they're pretty nasty. Go up into the White River, and the White River's fun. I mean, a lot of fish up the White River. I've been fishing a lot down by the dam, and I had one trip up the White River last week, and it's almost like it's night and day difference how much better the bite is up there. I don't think those fish are nearly as pressured as they are down here. You don't have as many guides down up the White River. You don't have as many people just fishing up the White River. So the White River seems to be a lot better. Anywhere from about Baxter all the way through Shell Knob really seems to be good. Definitely have a topwater tied on. Spook, Sammy, Whopper Plopper, Yozuri Popper, whatever you like to throw, have that tied on. One day you won't catch them, the next day you'll catch 15 or 20 first thing in the morning. So just have it ready. Drop shot rig's been the deal too. Same as it is down here. Shad-shaped worm, cut-tail worm, UV drop shot worm. Most of the fish are coming out of deeper trees, both on the main lake and in the creek arms up there. Seems like some of the main lake channel swings have got some pretty good fish in them on a drop shot. So have that drop shot tied on. Fish seem to be about that 20 to 35 foot depth. You just got to kind of look for them. Find those trees that top out at about 35, and that seems to be a key area for you. So make sure you have a drop shot tied on. Scuba spoons working out on those flats, picking up not just bass, picking up a lot of white bass out on the flats, especially in the back. From Baxter to about Big Creek, those flats seem to be holding a lot of white bass. So have a scuba spoon tied on. Look for those fish to be anywhere from about 18 to 35 feet deep on those flats, on those humps. They're really reacting to the scuba spoon, so have that ready. Again with the Dixie Jet. The Dixie Jet is kind of becoming one of my favorite lures this summer. It's just, you can throw it so far in that 3/4 ounce, and you can cover so much water, and the fish are really aggressive on it. If I see fish busting, if I see shad busting the surface, I've been throwing that Dixie Jet past them and ripping it and killing it right to it. And I'll pick up 3 or 4 extra fish a day just throwing that Dixie Jet. So have that Dixie Jet tied on, have it ready to throw if you start to see fish busting or shad close to the surface. And then the football jig. Jewel either 1/2 ounce, 5/8 ounce football jig, Okeechobee blue, green pumpkin candy, peanut butter and jelly, brown purple flash, all those colors are working. 1/2 ounce, 5/8 of an ounce, whichever one you like to throw. Most of the fish are on gravel points, gravel runouts, gravel humps. It seems like up there, if you've got a little bit of a roll off on one side or the other, it makes it a lot better. You can catch a lot more fish if you've got a drop off, because they're hanging on those drop offs. So have a football jig tied on, match it up with either a J-tail or again the baby brush hog. Green pumpkin's about the only thing I'm using as a trailer. But a lot of fish coming on a football jig up there, so have that tied on as well. Guys, it is halfway through July. It feels like August or September because it's been so stinking hot. I heard the other day we're going to probably break the record for most days over 90 degrees this year, which is awesome. But the fish are biting. We're catching fish, and it's fun. And I'm booked. Man, I am booked all the way through July, but you know, August and September are coming up, and they're pretty open. And the nice thing about August and September is we get the lake back. We won't have to deal with all this boat traffic, and hopefully it'll cool off a little bit. But even if it doesn't, not dealing with the boat traffic after 8 o'clock is great, because we can fish a lot longer. We can fish a lot more of the main lake stuff that we know there's fish on that you just can't hold the boat on. But maybe you guys are coming down, got a family vacation, you want to sneak out and fish one morning, great idea. Give me a call, we'll go out and fish. Maybe you bought a lake house. I've been doing a lot of people that have been buying lake houses or condos down here, taking a lot of people fishing that are doing that. Just want to learn the area, want to learn how to go out and catch some fish. It's a great idea. Give me a call, we'll shorten that learning curve. But guys, if you're thinking about coming down, wanting to hire a guide, give me a call. It's Focus Fishing Guide Service. You can reach me at 417-860-4743. Hit my website, focusfishing.com. Shoot me an email or book online. Either way, we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Get your dates and times lined up, and we'll get out, go fishing, have a good time. But guys, thanks for watching. Take a minute to subscribe if you haven't already done so. Really appreciate that. We're up over 3,100 subscribers, which is cool. But thanks for watching. Can't wait to hear from you. We'll see you on the water.